I think it would be a disservice to Americans across the country for both parties to look at Mamdani and treat it like some sort of flash in the pan or some fluke. He really, I would say, in the same way that Trump is very good at messaging and in tapping into what people are frustrated by, not necessarily in a way that transfers to other people running in his party. But I think it's really important to show that, people are looking for someone to just sit them down and talk to them and not at them in plain terms about what they can do as an elected official working through the systems that we have in order to get them the things that they're thinking about every single day. I was always very excited to see Zohran Mamdani, his meteoric rise. Literally a year ago, he was on the street just handing out flyers, trying to get anybody to talk to him. And now he's risen into such this incredible talent. And I think so much of that is because of how good of a messenger he is. He really, looks like somebody who actually enjoys being in New York City and enjoys the culture and has it run through his blood. And I think that's something that really resonated with New Yorkers. And on top of that, I know there was a lot from your side of the aisle of like, oh, he's going to make New York so socialist and all of these things that he's going to do.
Well, that's what he's ran on. He
ran on
himself as a
affordability,
socialist.
CJ. He ran on people not feeling like they can afford to live in the city that they love. And I think, if we're going to, market ourselves as a country that allows opportunity, that's got to be the first start. You have to start there. And so if people can't even feel like they can put food on the table, how are they supposed to reach for other opportunities if they're worried about, where their next meal is coming from? And that's something that he really kept his foot on the entire time. And I think it really resonated with voters.
I definitely agree that there's an affordability crisis in America that we, both sides, have to figure out a way to message and navigate. Where I would push back, though, is you're saying is, how can people live a fulfilling life when they're worried about, how they're going to put food on the table? In almost every socialist nation around the world, people are worrying about how they're going to put food on the table. You look at, countries like Venezuela and many other places where socialism has been quite a failed social experiment. Those problems still persist. They still endure. You mentioned how Mamdani is a good messenger. I actually don't. I think he has swagger. I think that he speaks with confidence and charisma. But the question, I think, goes back to the message itself. Many of the things that he ran on, he actually can't do as mayor, not without the coordination of Governor Hochul and, federal partners, right? And President Trump has already said that, I'm not going to give federal dollars to someone who's going to just light it on fire. Governor Hochul, of course, gave him a very, I don't know how you would describe that endorsement. It was definitely not impassioned, I would say, right? So my thing is, and I did a panel with this actually a few weeks ago about Gen Z losing faith and confidence in government. My question is that he ran on this kind of pie in the sky vision about what he can achieve as mayor. A lot of it is not possible singularly in the role as mayor. Do you think when he's not able to accomplish a lot of these things that it's going to lead to a lot of people losing faith in government, which is overall, is that a net positive or is it net neutral? Like, what do you think about that?
Sure. I mean, I think I would turn that same question to the Republican Party, right? I mean, Trump has come into office with a trifecta, and Congress has not been open since September.
Because of Chuck Schumer, but yeah.
Okay. Congress has not been open since September, despite Senate Republicans having the levers at their disposal to just do a clean reconciliation, which Trump was actually calling for this morning after seeing the results of last night's elections, calling on Senate Republicans to make something happen because he, quote, said that the shutdown is killing us. And so I think what you're seeing...
I think when he said the shutdown is killing us, is killing the American people. And of course, that's being inflicted upon us by 6 Democrats who will not join us and, vote to reopen the government. At the end of the day, the House Republicans, along with a few Democrats, voted to pass that CR. It's been in the hands of the Senate for now. And you have this blockade that is being orchestrated by Chuck Schumer and his progressive wing of his party, which honestly is in large part probably because Chuck Schumer probably is looking at what happened last night on Tuesday and says, okay, if I fold right now, then I'm going to have AOC primary me. I'm going to be out of a job. And I think that he realizes that the Mamdanis are going to coalesce around an AOC. And they have the energy right now in this Democrat Party. Like Mamdani, to me, is effectively the leader of the Democrat Party. I don't think people are taking marching orders from Hakeem Jeffries right now. They're not taking marching orders from Chuck Schumer. I think people have not been excited in the Democrat Party since last night. It's the first palpable excitement I've seen.
I would not
from folks on the left in a while.
I would not disagree with that. I also wouldn't disagree with your. I mean, the only person that loses in a shutdown is the American people, and absolutely. And I encourage Mike Johnson to reopen the House and bring folks back to the negotiation table so that we can get a deal done. But I think, to your point about Chuck Schumer, I think the biggest pressure that the Democratic Party is feeling right now is from the electorate, which made it very clear last November that they need to not just run against or vote against something, but vote for something. And I think that's why, despite, yes, to your point, there are some parts of Mamdani's platform that is going to need, that he can't do unilaterally, that is going to need to come from the assembly first. But the fact that he put actual solutions on the table to start that conversation is something that's really important. And I think given his background in the assembly, he knows that there's...
Which, by the way, in the assembly, he never passed a single piece of legislation during his time there.
I mean, we could rattle off the list of folks on both sides that have that same similar record. That is kind of the nature of putting a lot of stuff on the table and seeing what actually sticks. But I think what voters really want is somebody that is going to come to the table with ideas, show that they can actually message those ideas and work with people to get it done.
Yeah. And I think honestly, when I look at Mamdani, it reminds me a lot of AOC when she beat Joe Connolly, right? Is that a lot of folks on the right, I think, reflexively attacked AOC and they were like, oh, she's socialist, she's so bad, which is true. And she was a self-identified democratic socialist, but I was like, we've got to really look at what she's speaking into and what she's tapping into, because I think there's a lesson to be learned in that. And I think you learn just as much from your enemies as you do your friends, right? Or your opponents in that case. And I think Mamdani ran a race that was completely centered around affordability, and we just don't have an affordability problem in New York. We have it all across the country. And of course, I think the president's working hard to bring that down and to bring back the cost of goods. But I tweeted this today, I said, we've got to really shift towards a more domestic focused agenda, because especially in terms of the midterms, if we're going to keep Congress, because, while like the foreign policy wins are great for the president, definitely increases his aura. Like, you're bringing back the hostages, you're ending the war, you're getting nominated for the Nobel Peace Prize. That's great. It makes people like Trump more. But what we've seen is that obviously doesn't transfer all that cleanly to people down ballot, right? Or, right. Joe Blow from Wisconsin, who's running in a competitive seat. And so I think that I think everyone's going to be kind of taking notes from Mamdani in the sense of obviously a different way that we would approach it, a more free market based way. But at the same time, affordability is a very, very big problem. And people aren't thinking about Israel when they go to the grocery store. They're not thinking about Israel when they go, buy Christmas gifts, this upcoming holiday season. And so it's going to be interesting to see, I think, how our party responds to it. And something I give credit where it's due. Again, different endpoint or different way we would go about it. But he tapped into a really important issue that's on the minds of a lot of Americans right now.